to Azulita, your home of amazing teaching materials and self-care.
Today's topic is classroom management and strategies to help you avoid the need for behavior management.
I'm Courtney, 12-year special education teacher, and look at me now.
Ooh, Katrina, only 7 years, but still.
So why is classroom management important?
Well, it's essential to make sure that your classroom runs and flows how you would like it to. So setting those expectations for behavior and then following through on them can really ensure that your students feel safe, cared for, and can accomplish their academic, social, and behavioral goals.
So the first thing you want to do towards that has nothing to do with behavior really, and it has everything to do with behavior because you need to have engaging classroom materials. We provide some of those, but I'm sure you have a lot of your own. So what makes a material engaging?
I think the number one essential item for that is to make sure it's at the right level for your student and that it's fun, they feel like they're learning and gaining some skills. So one of my students would always tell me or throw papers back at me when I started teaching if it wasn't at the right level, and he would say, "I don't want this baby shit," and throw it back at me, which not the nicest, but good piece of feedback. Mm-hmm. You need to make sure it's at the right level, both for like reading comprehension, but then also maturity level. And especially for students that learn differently, English language learners or special ed students, the level and the maturity are essential to be balanced together and make sure that it feels like something that they want to learn about, that it relates to them at their level of maturity in life.
Yeah, it's super important. On top of that, you really need to have routines and procedures. So a routine is different from a procedure in that a routine is something that you do every day, and a procedure is for when something comes up. So how is it that you like to craft your routines and procedures?
I like to practice them in the moment for my daily routines, like bell work, and then go through the flow of it and just like make sure that it becomes that muscle memory. Mm-hmm. That way, even if you have a sub day, the kids are like, this is how Miss or Mr. Blank does it. And they follow through, and it can be really comforting to them to go through those those routines. And then for procedures, I think it's important to practice in the moment. If you just tell them about your procedure, when we go out for a fire drill, this is what we do. Maybe do a practice one or two. Mm-hmm. It's really good for them to see it, to experience it. That way all your learner types really know how to do the procedure.
Absolutely. The next really important thing you want to do is to forge connections with students. So they're not going to do your stupid routines or stupid procedures unless they think you're a real person who really cares about them. So one thing that you used that I kind of used a variant is the "Are you okay?" check-in.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to get to know your students and really let them know that you care about them. And a good thing to do is to give them the why on why you do your routines and procedures. And then also if they're not following through on a procedure or a routine or an expectation, instead of being like, sit up right away, I would go over and say are you okay? And sometimes it'd be like, my grandpa's in the hospital, I didn't sleep. And then you can provide them with the care and support they need. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes they're like, yes, I'm okay, I'll sit up. They know what's expected, and it's really nice to check in with them. They feel cared for. And then sometimes you can remind them of what you need them to be doing. And then other times they already know and they just follow through with their great little selves already.
And if we're really being honest, those kids who push the hardest, who are really the most difficult, are the ones who really want that care and attention the most. And they can kind of smell when you're being phony with them. So actually care about them. I mean, they might not be the nicest humans in the whole wide world, but it's probably because of past experiences of people who are in your position being kind of jerks to them.
Maybe they've experienced trauma or have had some difficult situations, and you caring about them will really bring them out of their shell and feel comfortable, and you'll see a great transformation in them. Either way, you want to care about them because that'll create the classroom community you want.
The next thing you're really going to want to do is to be really proactive. Continually be looking around for things to say that's great. I thought it was the stupidest thing in the world when I first started teaching to be thank you for doing that, Sean. I really appreciate it. But seriously, people like to be treated nicely, especially in an environment where you have to be, you don't choose to be. So I think that really helped.
It always feels good to be thanked. And, for those students that you might identify in that first week of school, those first few days that might be challenging, might have experienced that trauma, it's good to give them a legit classroom job. I had a student that had ADHD, and he would be in charge of filling up my water cup. And we'd have like expectations of how much work he needed to get done first, but then he would like bang out his work and then be like, oh, can I go fill up your water cup now? And it was really great for him to get out and walk around. So being strategic in the jobs that you give to students can build their self-esteem and help your classroom run smoothly.
Absolutely. Another thing that really helps your classroom smoothly run is proximity. Also seemed really stupid when I first started out, but it actually is. It's super hard to misbehave right in front of someone. That's just a fact. Like when somebody's standing right there, be it a police officer or your boss, you are way more likely to act like a normal human being for a few minutes.
Yeah, and some of our students have gotten really good at like kind of going through the motions, but might need help. And if you're walking around, you can identify who might need a little bit extra help, who's maybe struggling. Maybe you'll notice some things and you can get other people involved to help that student as you're walking around. So it's really great.
To that end, when you do see that a kid needs some help and is struggling, it's so important to plan together with that kid. So to sit them down and to not be like, you're driving me insane, although that might be true. But to say that what you're doing is impacting your goals as a person. So to get that buy-in from that student and then to sit down with them and be like, how are we gonna make this so that school is working for you?
Yeah, what kind of plan can we come up with? What do we wanna do together to help you? I know this is your goal, we wanna reach it. What can we do? Like, you think about it tonight, we'll come back tomorrow, we'll come out with some ideas so that like you can be successful in doing this. It really helps if they feel like they're in control of their plan and teaches them that life skill so they can keep doing that going forward as they go out to be independent individuals.
Them screwing up, you screwing up, that is 100% part of the learning process, and it is going to happen, and it's actually a feature, not a bug. You can make it something that everyone can learn from. I, for one, a terrible speller because dyslexia, and I never pretended to be infallible. When I would screw something up, I was always like, thanks for pointing that out, good eye friend, and it really made them realize that even if you grow up, you're not necessarily gonna be perfect, and so it made all of their mistakes a lot better.
That transparency can show that we all make mistakes and use it as an opportunity to have that growth mindset. Like we're all working on improving, and teach them how to own your mistakes and still feel good about yourself. Like it doesn't have to be embarrassing or anything, and just like we can all have a good laugh, like, oh, wrote the wrong date on the board, or we read that page yesterday. And it really helps them feel like they have that ownership of the classroom, and they feel pride when they know that they pointed something out, and have that be great. Like, we're all creating this together. I really want my students to feel like they can make it better. And if there's something I could do better, I want to know that. And then when you give them feedback, they feel the same way, like, oh, great, I can be better too. It doesn't have to feel negative.
I totally agree with that. And it helps to create a classroom community. On top of everything you're doing for planning out your lessons and planning out your day, one of the best things you could do for classroom management is to make it a community. So things like class builders, team builders, some people say, I don't have time for it, but really it makes it so that you guys can have those shared experiences together.
Yeah, and it's an investment in time. I was definitely one of those people that was like, oh, we don't have time. And then I made time for it one year, and we did a work together Wednesday every week. And we actually got the furthest in our class book that year than I had ever before, even giving up one day of reading a week. So even though it feels like you don't have time for it, your students start working together better, they're more efficient in their groups and in their classwork, and it gives them something to look forward to where they can practice their problem solving with those skills, with those activities and stuff. It's a huge benefit for sure.
It is a huge benefit. So if you are working on your classroom management or your behavior management, head on over to our website where we have all sorts of helpful things, policies and procedures. We've got behavior contracts. We've got all sorts of goodies there for free for you, hearts forever. And hopefully that'll help you a lot with your classroom planning for this coming school year.
Absolutely. That's why we have our materials. We're hoping that they help and that you can give us that feedback by liking, commenting, subscribing, letting us know, sharing it with people. And if there's ever anything we can do to level up our work, please share that with us as well. Education is a process and we can always make it better. And that comes from you. So please let us know.
And go ahead and make this a community by, in the comments right now, letting us know your best behavior management, classroom management strategies. We can't wait to hear from you. Thanks for hanging out with us, and
See you next time.
See you next time.